1. William the Conqueror, the birth of Norman England. Imagine the year 1066, when the fate of England hung in the balance on a battlefield known as Hastings. At the heart of this storm stood William, Duke of Normandy, a man of ambition and iron will. William's victory over Harold Godwinson was not just the triumph of one warrior over another, but the dawn of a new era. With his conquest, William brought Norman culture, architecture, and governance to England, forever reshaping its identity. He introduced the feudal system, binding nobles to the crown through land and loyalty, creating a structure that would endure for centuries. To fully understand his kingdom, William commissioned the Domesday Book, an unprecedented survey of every village, farm, and citizen under his rule. Yet his life ended in chaos. At his funeral, his body was so swollen from illness that it famously burst, filling the church with a stench and horror symbolic of the turbulent legacy he left behind. 2. Henry II, the King of Law and Empire. Henry II was a ruler of relentless energy and vision, a man who shaped not just England, but much of medieval Europe. He inherited a realm in turmoil and expanded it into what historians call the Angevin Empire, stretching from the rugged highlands of Scotland to the vineyards of southern France. Henry's greatest contribution, however, was not conquest, but reform. He revolutionized England's legal system, laying the foundations for common law and the trial by jury, principles still central to modern justice. Yet his reign was also marked by personal tragedy and conflict. His fiery disputes with Thomas Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury, culminated in Becket's murder inside a cathedral, an act that shocked Christendom and haunted Henry until his death. A king of towering intellect and ambition, Henry's reign was a mixture of brilliance and darkness, forging systems that would outlast his empire and shape England for centuries to come. 3rd, Edward I, the Hammer of the Scots. Edward I was a warrior king, towering both physically and politically, a figure whose shadow stretched across medieval Britain. His reign was defined by war and expansion. Determined to bring the Celtic fringes under English control, Edward conquered Wales, building mighty stone castles like Caernarfon and Conwy, monuments to his unyielding authority. In Scotland, his campaigns earned him the fearsome title Hammer of the Scots, as he sought to subdue legendary figures like William Wallace. Yet Edward was more than just a soldier. He summoned what became known as the Model Parliament, inviting commoners to participate alongside nobles and clergy, planting the seeds of representative government. His legal reforms strengthened the Crown's power while also shaping English governance for centuries. Edward's vision was of a united Britain under one monarch, a dream forged through blood and stone, leaving a legacy that was both awe-inspiring and deeply contested. 4. Henry VIII, the king who defied Rome. Few monarchs in history are as infamous or as fascinating as Henry VIII. When he came to the throne in the year 1509, he was young, handsome, and full of promise. But beneath the surface lay a will of steel and an appetite for power. Henry's reign forever altered the religious and political landscape of England. When the Pope refused to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, Henry broke from the Catholic Church and declared himself the supreme head of the Church of England. This seismic act began the English Reformation, tearing centuries-old ties with Rome and setting the stage for generations of conflict. Henry is equally remembered for his 6 wives, 2 of whom he had executed, and for his obsession with producing a male heir. By the time of his death, he had created a kingdom both strengthened and scarred, a monarchy more powerful than ever, yet haunted by religious division. 5. Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen and the Golden Age. Elizabeth I, daughter of Henry VIII, ascended the throne in the year 1558, inheriting a fractured kingdom divided by religious turmoil. With remarkable intelligence and political skill, she steered England through one of its most perilous periods. Under Elizabeth's steady hand, the nation saw the rise of a cultural and economic renaissance, now known as the Elizabethan Golden Age. It was during her reign that William Shakespeare penned his legendary plays, and explorers like Sir Francis Drake circled the globe. Elizabeth's most dramatic triumph came in the year 1588, when she faced the mighty Spanish Armada. Against overwhelming odds, England's navy defeated Spain, establishing England as a major world power. Though she never married, earning her the title of the Virgin Queen, Elizabeth forged a bond with her people that transcended politics. Her reign became a symbol of strength, vision, and national pride that echoes through British history. 6. Charles I, the king who lost his head. Charles I was a monarch of conviction, but also of tragedy. He believed deeply in the divine right of kings, the idea that his authority came directly from God. This belief set him on a collision course with Parliament, whose members demanded a greater say in governance. As tensions escalated, England descended into civil war, with royalists fighting against parliamentarians led by Oliver Cromwell. After years of bloody conflict, the unthinkable happened. Charles was captured, tried for treason, and publicly executed in January of the year 1649. The sight of a king's head severed from his body shocked the world and sent tremors through every royal court in Europe. His death marked the temporary end of the monarchy and the birth of the English Commonwealth. Charles's downfall forever altered the balance of power in England, proving that even a king could be held accountable by his subjects. 7. Charles II, the Restoration King. After the chaos of the English Civil War and the grim rule of Oliver Cromwell, England longed for stability, tradition, and even a little joy. In the year 1660, Charles II returned from exile to reclaim his father's throne in what became known as the Restoration. Where Cromwell's rule had been marked by austerity and repression, Charles brought energy, charm, and a flair for celebration. His court became a centre of art, music, and fashion, symbolising a new chapter for the monarchy. But beneath the glamour lay serious challenges. The Great Plague of London in 1665 and the Great Fire of London in 1666 devastated the capital. Charles navigated these crises while carefully balancing his own authority with the growing power of Parliament. His reign restored the crown, yet also confirmed that kings could no longer rule unchecked, shaping the modern constitutional monarchy we know today. 8. William III and Mary II. The Glorious Revolution. The late 17th century brought a unique chapter in British history, a king and queen ruling side by side. William III and his wife, Mary II, ascended to the throne in the year 1689 after the dramatic events of the Glorious Revolution. This revolution was unusual, for it involved little bloodshed, yet entirely transformed the monarchy. They overthrew Mary's father, the unpopular James II, who had angered the people with his attempts to restore Catholic dominance. William and Mary's joint reign marked the beginning of a constitutional monarchy, as they signed the Bill of Rights, a document that permanently limited royal power and strengthened Parliament. Their rule established principles such as free elections and freedom of speech within Parliament, shaping the democracy Britain would become. Together, they embodied a new kind of monarchy, one where rulers shared authority with their people and governed by law rather than divine right. 9. Queen Victoria, the Empress of an Empire. When Queen Victoria came to the throne in the year 1837, she was just 18 years old, shy and unprepared for the immense task before her. Yet over her long reign of more than 63 years, she became the very symbol of British power and stability. The Victorian era saw unprecedented industrial growth, social reform, and scientific advancement. Britain's empire expanded to its greatest extent, with territories spanning the globe from India to Canada, earning Victoria the title of Empress of India. At home, her image of moral virtue and family values deeply influenced society. She faced personal sorrow, especially after the death of her beloved husband, Prince Albert, which plunged her into decades of mourning. Despite her grief, Victoria presided over a period of immense change, guiding her nation through revolutions, discoveries, and challenges, leaving a legacy that defined not only a century, but an entire empire. 10. Elizabeth II, the Queen of modern times. Elizabeth II ascended the throne in the year 1952, at just 25 years old, following the sudden death of her father, King George VI. Over the course of her 70-year reign, she became the longest-reigning monarch in British history and a global icon of stability and continuity. Elizabeth witnessed the end of the British Empire as many nations gained independence, skillfully guiding the monarchy through this dramatic transformation. She embraced modernisation, adapting ancient traditions to a rapidly changing world. From meeting world leaders like Winston Churchill and John F. Kennedy, to navigating crises such as the Diana tragedy and the challenges of a digital age, Elizabeth remained a steady, unifying figure. Her reign symbolised resilience, duty, and service. By the time of her passing in the year 2022, she had cemented her place as one of the most respected and beloved monarchs in history.